propaganda that's been spilled through Hollywood. There's no doubt about it. I just think they missed the boat on this podcast thing. They didn't know it was coming.
They should have gotten involved. They need to have a few undercover CIA agents doing a podcast out of their Brooklyn apartment.
It wouldn't be good.
And making millions. No,
you have to have mental illness.
You have to be a little sick. Yeah, I mean, when I think of how many hours I've talked for, how many hours you've talked for, there's something wrong.
Something wrong.
Something very wrong.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then people need to realize that. Like, if you take my opinion seriously, like, listen to me. I don't even take my opinion seriously. What are you listening to me for?
Right.
Half the time I'm just thinking out loud.
Right.
Like, literally maybe 40% of the things that I say on this podcast, I don't know what I'm saying when I'm saying it.
Right.
I'm just thinking out loud.
Right. And that's the whole art form of doing this, because you have to explore every possibility.
Yeah, and sometimes I have a thought that's very well thought out. Sometimes. Where it's like, no, I've thought about this for a while, and this is why I believe this.
Yeah.
And there's a difference. Like, you'll hear me.
Right.
You hear things that I say that are, like, really clear. I know what I'm saying.
Right.
I know what I'm talking. And then you hear, like, rambling nonsense, too.
Right.
And you got to... That's just how it goes. If you're going to think out loud, you're going to have both of those things.
Why do you think people get so angry at the idea of that? Like, people get very angry at the idea of, like, being open to the idea of being wrong. Like, people get angry and they're like, every word out of your mouth has to be absolutely what you want it to be, and it's weird to me.
Because we're in a gotcha soundbite culture, right? So one of the ways they'll digest your show or my show is someone will put a clip up. Look what this piece of shit Tim Dillon said, and it'll have something that you said completely out of context in a 2.5-hour rant, where you're just like talking nonsense about JFK still being alive,
or whatever it is. Yeah, I mean, I end my live show every show I've been doing right now by saying, "Thanks for having me, everybody. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is burning in hell," and that's fun because to me, I'm like, all I've seen is praise lavished upon her, and deservedly so, right? Yeah. But the funny angle to me is that she's actually burning in hell. And good night. And that's fun. But if you take that and you don't understand that that's a funny thing to say.
Yes.
And that there is no hell probably, and I don't know who's there. But that's the funny angle to say.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
in hell.
One of the things that Louis C.K. said when he was talking about comedy material and, like getting in trouble for material, he's like, comedy is often saying things that you're not supposed to say.
Right.
Like, that's why you say it. Because everyone knows you're not supposed to say it. And then you go and say it and like, oh, my God. And that's what's funny.
Yes.
The idea that you're holding people to those thoughts as if this is like an affidavit.
Right.
And they've signed this. And they've worked it out with lawyers. And this is my position.
Yeah.
And this is where I stand. No, you're literally talking off the cuff, saying something preposterous like, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is burning in hell right now.
Right.
And you're doing that just so everybody else goes, ah!
It gets a big everybody, because it's crazy.
It's entertaining.
It's crazy.
Crazy,
and maybe true.
man.
Well, but what is crazy about it is that it's the unexpected.
Yeah.
It's the crazy, just out
Oh,
there.
crazy.
Say the most
oh my God.
insane thing you can.
Well, the thing about it today, though, is everyone is looking to catch people saying things you shouldn't say. And getting mad at you, and then they want to silence you.
Right.
They want to stop you from saying the things that you shouldn't.
What happened to
curiosity?
To me, it's like a lot of this is the death of curiosity, right? Because I grew up and I listened to all these different radio shows. I would listen to AM talk radio, guys like Bob Grant and Rush Limbaugh.
Oh, yeah, I remember Bob Grant.
Bob Grant. He used to go, "Get off my phone, you fake, phony fraud." And he would just hang up on people. He would fight with people. Guys would call him. It was always like the same guy. He was like, "Bob, this is Tony from Seaside Heights." Yes. And he would go, I think the Clintons, I think you're being a little light on. Bob would go, "Will you shut up?" And they would just fight all day. And I didn't know if the guy was right or if he was wrong. I just knew what was happening was hilarious and interesting. And I was curious about what other people in the world, I was a young kid being driven around by my parents, but I was curious about what other people in the world thought, what they were saying, because when you listen to those talk radio shows, you're in a car, you're driving around, and you hear some psychopath on that's calling Bob Grant, like they used to say to Bob Grant. They'd be like, you really disappointed me. And Bob Grant would go, "Do you know me? Do you have any knowledge of who I am? Like, I disappointed you." And then you would try to look in the cars and be like, "I wonder what psychopath went home and called the guy," So I was just curious. Now it seems like there's this death of curiosity where no one is curious about what anyone else is thinking unless it happens to be what they're thinking.
It has to coincide exactly with how you view the world.
And so uninteresting.
Part of it is social media and part of it is Trump. right? Trump has his brand of being president, his way of doing it has polarized people so hard that they will do anything and everything they can to keep him from being president again, from being president a second term. And they're forcing compliance. Yeah. You have to comply with our view of what's going on in the world. Yeah. And I think I find it fascinating just going through my Instagram feed and looking at people who are Trump supporters and Trump haters and looking at their perspectives.
Right.
And looking at this fucking giant Grand Canyon-like divide.
And my favorite thing is vote. Tell everyone to vote. That's what everyone does now. Tell everyone. I did a whole podcast episode this week. I go, I'm not telling you to vote. It's not my job. Vote or don't vote. It's like I don't tell you to eat your vegetables. Right. I don't tell you to jog. Right. I don't tell you to do anything.
I'm not telling you have to meditate.
Hey, raise your kids. You spend time with your kids? Are you spending time with your son? He's in college. You and him don't talk. Like, what in God's name? Like, you walk into a nightclub to see me. I say Ruth Bader Ginsburg's burning in hell. Then I turn around and go, everyone make sure to have a voting plan.
Well, what's happened is there's a lot of these fucking idiots that aren't getting any attention. And we've found out why they're in show business. They're not just in show business to create. They're not just in show business to hone their craft and to be good as an actor or be good as a comic. They want attention. Right. And when there's no attention to be had on stage, they seek it out on Twitter. And they seek it out by being correct about things. Some people are using Twitter and they're just hilarious. Right. They're just saying ridiculous shit.
Very funny.
The same thing with Instagram. Like Lil Duval's my favorite.
Yeah, he's great.
Never gets political, never gets serious. Right. Everything's just having a good time. Yeah. Occasionally talking about pussy.
Right,
that's mostly what he does.
Outrageous.
But some people, they lack that self-awareness and all they want is likes. Right. So they try to figure out what can I say to get people thinking that I'm really progressive and really open-minded, and what can I say that really like hits the tone and gets a lot of juicy likes.
Yeah. Juicy likes, yeah. Well, maybe I'm guilty of that sometimes, but these guys can fuck off anyway.